Hi, I'm Pete. I'm an IT manager. Today I want to talk about...
Pete, heads up. We've been hacked.
What happened?
My password is my birthday. Well, everyone knows that. February 14th.
Why would everyone...
I don't get how these people figure this stuff out.
I think I do. Have you ever updated it?
Yes. I changed it to Valentine's Day.
Okay, we're protected with Connection Security Services.
You just gotta be more careful, Pete.
Okay, yep.
For hardware, software, support, and empathy. For Pete's sake, connect with Connection.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.
The resources, like, let's go grab a Gatorade. Like, let's hop in the car and run the air conditioning and eat our lunch. Let's, you know what I mean? All of these things that if you remove them, becomes a real issue, because people think like, well, everybody works, right? And like, but some people have like insurance, a place to go home and turn on the air conditioner or run a cold bath, or, you know what I mean? And a farm worker doesn't have any of that.
It's time now for something positive.
We might be headed to the promised land,
of speaking the truth
and finding our external liberty once we internally liberate ourselves.
Problem can only be solved when there is a kind of coalition of conscience.
Because that is how it works. This is the beginning. It is not the finale. And that's why we're here. And that's why we rally.
We've got to be that creative minority.
Find a way to get in the way. I got in trouble. It was good trouble. It was necessary trouble.
Frankly, I know we've got to do something.
And we're back for another hour of Public Access America. He's Adam, he's Jeffrey, I'm Jason, and they're all listening to us. What's going on, guys? I love you guys.
What's happening? What's up? I just want to say that, you know what, here's the thing about Public Access America, and I talk about this all the time on my show too, you know, that the Public Access America is one of those shows you go to learn. You know, and I'm not just saying, hey, every random listener go learn. Dude, I'm even learning. I'm learning a lot of shit. And so I strongly encourage people to listen.
Yeah, when you're not fighting about politics, you can just listen to a broader conversation and decide from all of that what you want to choose, because we're not forcing anybody to believe a certain way, you know?
Exactly. I mean, it's conversation, man, that needs to happen. I mean, if you need some technical numbers, guess what, Mr. Jeffrey, hello, with the fucking numbers. you got a bigger brain than I do. I'm not afraid to admit that, brother. Fuck no.
You know, and you have an experience that I don't have. So like, you understand an entire group of people in a way that I can't, because I don't have that lived experience. And guess what? You're able to connect with your audience because they relate to you. They understand you. They're like, yes, I feel exactly like the way this guy does.
Right. But it's conversation without judgment that moves it forward. You know what I mean? And that's why I love you both. And this next story, guys, it's like, it's in your wheelhouses. Agriculture, you know, worker rights, climate change. It's got it all. And that's why I picked it. I thought it was interesting. So we're going to talk about farm workers a little bit. But what I really want to start with, I want people that are working in America right now to think about their job and how you're protected and stuff. So I wanted to ask Adam, because you got to get into fucking full gear in the summer, right? And you got to walk around and do things, and despite what the heat is like, right?
Yep.
And so what is it like working in the heat, like without stuff, before we get to the things that you use to protect yourself and keep yourself hydrated and all that? What does it feel like to just be on the extreme edge of heat exhaustion? You know,
it is 100% hell. But here's the thing that I'm very fortunate about. So my company, I'm very, very happy about. They take the initiative to find out what we need. You know, they provide everything that we're going to need for our jobs so that we don't go out there with heat exhaustion. They talk about, you know, the steps that we need to take to prevent heat exhaustion. Take a break, you know, sunscreen, a hat, or you know, they give us all the ridiculous things that we're going to need, like little sombreros for our fucking helmet to extend it so the sun doesn't hit us. The little tiny steps, the little tiny things that, you know, they think we need, we use, we got. And so I'm very fortunate when it comes to that because my company cares. They care a lot. But working out there, man, there was a couple of days where I was like, we got out into our shed and we're like, you know, in our bay, and we're like sitting there looking at each other, and it was like 7:00 in the morning, and it was almost 85, 90 degrees. And I'm like, we are not going to work. I'm pulling an executive decision. Guess what, boys? It's time to go home. Go home, stay cool, stay wet, stay hydrated, stay out of the sun. Whatever it is you got to do, put some suntan lotion on if you're going to go tanning. It doesn't matter. Just stay goddamn hydrated. So we have that luxury with our company. We have the protection. We have backing from them, backing from L&I, you know, says, hey, you know, we make sure that your employees are taken care of. So that responsibility trickles down. And for me as a leader, I have to make sure that my guys are taken care of. And dude, when you start working and you start sweating or you start feeling shaky, I mean, it's already that process has already started.
That's what I'm trying to get with. Like that moment right there, we have a safety net, right? But and I don't think Americans understand like the resources. Like, let's go grab a Gatorade. Like, let's hop in the car and run the air conditioning and eat our lunch. Let's, you know what I mean? All of these things that if you remove them becomes a real issue, because people think like, well, everybody works, right? And like, but some people have like insurance, a place to go home and turn on the air conditioner or run a cold bath, or you know what I mean? And farm workers don't have any of that.
They have none of it.
I just want people to understand before we get into that they're dying because of heat exhaustion. I don't want somebody to just dismiss it and be like, well, fuck them. You know what I mean? They should have just drank the water that's 3 football fields away. You know what I mean? Like, people need to understand that they don't have the luxury of protections like we do in America, being Americans under policies and laws that protect us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, regardless of your immigration status, you should be provided with like all those safety things. I mean, it's your company. If it's your company, you got people dying on your watch, dude. Guess what? You get shut the fuck down. You should shut down real quick. And so for them to be, you know, for example, it's like a lot of my friends, a lot of the old school homies, man, they're all, you know, they come up, they want to work, they send money back home to Mexico or, you know, South America or even farther, you know. And so they don't get the luxuries of a shade or get the opportunity. Well, shit, I'm getting real hot. I'm going to go sit in AC for a hot minute. No, they don't get that. They're in a field. Last time I checked, Jeffrey, a field was wide open, right?
Yep.
There's no trees out there. I mean, unless you're in an orchard, then you got the luxury of shade from there. But there's still miles and miles of fields. And then you don't have, like you said, 3 football fields of water, you know, away of water from the water. You don't get that luxury. You don't get, where's the safety precautions? Where's the guys on the ATVs? Because I know they have ATVs on these properties who have these, you know, hey, pulling a little trailer with a little water cooler or a giant ass water cooler with water or a Gatorade or whatever, something to hydrate, electrolytes, something to keep these guys safe. And there's nothing, none of that. These guys come up dirt poor, can't afford any kind of protection at all. And say what you want, but these guys are the guys to keep our food industry,
That's the point,
going. So why not take care of these guys at the beginning before anything happens? Take care of these guys.
A lot of
these people cheap food prices. This is how it works. Like
yes, that's my point. So I just want to throw some stats at you because I started out and I saw 65 farm workers have died since 2002. And I was like, that's 19 years. That's not many people, you know? But then I thought about it and I was like, 3 to 4, 3.5 farm workers die of heat exhaustion every year. And I was like, well, that's random. But then when you think about 3 to 4 farm workers die every 3 to 4 months, then it starts to sound like more of a real issue. You know what I mean?
It's more of an issue now because now everybody's got video cameras, everybody's got messaging, everybody's able to communicate with their people, and now that information is getting out there.
More realistic, right?
Yep, 100%. It's like I like to describe it as we didn't know about shark attacks or ocean attacks or people getting eaten up in the ocean because it was less and less. Well, we don't know, we don't see it. Now we have the capabilities of hearing about it or watching on the sonograms and all those interesting little things we have out there, right? Now we're looking at all the other industries like our farm workers who are able to talk to people and say, hey, this is what's happening. We don't get this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go die because I got heat exhaustion.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. So now we're able to record those numbers. Washington State alone, I mean, we got Department of Labor Industries who's actively going after these people who have these farms, these orchards, these fields, and all of these workers not being protected, whether it be from the COVID, whether it be from the heat, whether it be from whatever it is, all these outside factors. Nobody's giving them these attentions, and nobody's even giving two shits about these illegal guys. Send them back to Mexico. Send them back across the border is all you hear.
No. Well, I'm sorry.
Anyway.
We care. So farm workers account for 1/6 of all the deaths, heat-related deaths in America. And farm workers die at a rate nearly 20% more than all other U.S. workers and other industries. So what I wanted to ask you, Adam, is are farm workers just weak? They're dying so much more.
You know what? No, these motherfuckers are double tough, dude. I mean, put all three of us together and how strong we are together, all three of us, that's one guy. That's one guy's right arm. Because these guys are tough, dude. The women, the men out there in those fields doing these jobs that nobody else wants, they're fucking tough and resilient. And you got to remember too that these people have crossed miles and miles and miles of terrain, uncharted terrain, or not even dangerous,
unfriendly terrain,
unfriendly, 100%. And so they've to come all the way up to Wenatchee to go to their little farms or Ellensburg to go do work on their farm, and they've already exhausted from that trip. They get maybe a couple hours before they start their shift and go to work. People don't know that these people are really super tough already. But now to go in and face this, it's like you're sitting under that sun picking whatever it is that you're picking, cabbages. Everybody jokes about it, but they're picking their cabbages, they're picking their vegetables, whatever, their trees, whatever it is, but they're going and they're going and they're going. And they have one goal in mind: get that money, send it back home so they can go back home and make sure that their parents are living just fine. Right. You know what I mean? There's a bigger picture. And us Mexicans, we like to have a lot of kids. I don't know what happened with me. I only got 2, but besides the point, they have a lot of kids at home they want to take care of. They got a lot of people they have to take care of, their moms, their dads, grandparents, their aunts, their uncles. They care about all that money goes back to them. So they're people like us, just different colored skin, but like us. What? That's weird. We're all the same? No.
What grabbed me about this story was the fact that what you just said, they made this 2,000-mile or more journey just for work, thinking that coming to America was the beginning of their story. And for 65 guys, it was the end.
Exactly.
That makes me so sad. And the fact that all it took would have taken is an air conditioner and a little more water, that pisses me off.
Better safety precautions. I mean, like realities, like I've been out in different fields where you don't have that.
Let me ask you then, is it the farm? Is it the employer? There you go. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So,
100%.
when you look at, when you look at working out in the field, I have the luxury of talking about working out in the field on the farm and working out in the field for the USDA and working out in the field for the oil field. Being out there is rugged, rough stuff. And the reality is that you're going to find yourself out there doing things in extreme heat, and you're not going to be close to your vehicle. You know, you might have a vehicle there where you can get some air conditioning and cool off, but the reality is that, you know, you might be, you know, a mile or two away from your vehicle when that shit starts to set in. So what it comes down to is the fact that you have to do your research in terms of what do you need in order for yourself. You also, as an employer, need to set out safety protocols and precautions that have to be followed, period, end of story. And that's where these people are getting caught. It's not that there aren't safety protocols out there. Right. It's that you've got people that are actively making decisions to say, nah, fuck it, that's just too much for me to have to deal with. And that's where these guys are getting busted. And I don't give I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's like, and also you got to realize too that there's also going to be a language barrier. And that language
exactly.
These people who have these companies should already have these protocols in place where they have somebody, a translation service or some form of workers that have come before and now they live there or they got their papers and they're able to work as well, that they can, you know, properly say, hey, this is what you guys are going to need, or supply the proper PPE like, you know, the state government does. I mean, it's like it's there for the taking. But now for these smaller companies or these orchards or these fields and these farmers that they got lots of fucking money. I see their boats. I see their fancy 1-ton dualies. You know what I mean? It's like if you have that kind of money to throw around and piss in these migrant workers' faces, dude, you have money to provide proper PPE, proper hydration, proper shade, something going on for these people who are working for you. Take care of them. They take care of you. You get your fancy boat, your fancy house. They get to go home to their families at the end of the season. And everybody lives, everybody prospers, everybody makes a living. And that it's a harsh reality that you have these people who just do not want to spend that little bit of money on the proper protection for these employees. It sucks.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is,
Jeffrey,
like,
we're paying them $14 an hour and giving them housing. What the fuck more do you want to give them?
You know,
sorry.
That's the thing is that
I'm trying
a lot
to
of
speak for all of America, and this sucks.
Well, I mean,
there's
you
a
have
stigma
to think
there, and I'm trying to get to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have to think about it this way. It's, you know, especially working out in the field, it's about understanding the conditions that you're working in. I've worked in everything from 50 below to 120 above. I've worked in everything from 0 humidity to 100% humidity. And the reality is that, you know, there needs to be, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily government oversight in terms of how you handle, you know, 100 degrees and 99% humidity, but there needs to be some better guidelines, some better guidance. And it's like, hey, when you're hitting temperatures like this, you know, get that you want everybody to work a couple hours before they get their 15-minute break. But you know what? Sometimes it's, you know, work 30, sit out 5 and grab a drink, work 30, sit out 5 and grab a drink. And I've done that in construction, you know, where I was working in 115 degree heat. You give it 30 minutes and then you're sitting in the shade for 5 to 10, pounding some water, because otherwise if you work 45 to an hour, you start hitting that initial point of dehydration, and that's when things get fucking dangerous. But you know, maybe there's also another thing that we need to consider, and I'm going to pose this one to ADOG here. Do you think that there's also a part in the lack of rural health available to people that have language barriers that is keeping some of these people that are starting to experience some of these potential issues and illnesses out in the field from getting help? Do you think that there's a barrier there in terms of access to healthcare?
There is. It's a huge barrier. If they don't understand what's happening to them, they just think it's like, oh well, it's just the sun, it's warm. But they don't understand the precautions that the good companies are taking. Right. You know what I mean? They don't understand what's happening to them. They just know that, oh, well, I'm sweating or I'm working, I'm wearing 40 sweaters and I'm just fine, you know, and a couple of hats and a sombrero. And then, you know, because that's what a lot of those people do, is a lot of those workers do is wear their long sleeve shirts because they're used to the heat. And they're like, yep, you know what? I'm just going to keep working and I'll be fine. But they don't understand. And so the language barrier and them seeing all these posters, you know, now sometimes if you're lucky, these amazing people can read in both languages. And so you have to worry about that as well. Are they being properly communicated with? Do they have somebody on site, you know, who can speak that language?
Right.
If not, Yeah, and if not, they're screwed. They're 100% screwed.
I'll tell you what all three of us know. A company can offer anything, but if the supervisor leads you to believe that it isn't available to you, you don't know it's available to you.
Right.
Yep.
That's a big problem.
So a company can say we treat them fairly, but the supervisor doesn't. They keep them ignorant. And on the other side, I think, like I always say, on the border, there should be programs, industry. And I think that if they came in and went into an agriculture sort of path, we, like we have with the H2 farm workers, we could inform them. Like there could be a group. There should be a group. There should be an advocacy group that lets them know their rights. I
was actually just thinking of something like that. As someone who personally, I'm all for a good fucking government. Maybe there needs to be, maybe there's an opportunity here for a company to have interpreters for all of these different farm workers around that. Number one, informs them of all their state rights. Number two, depending on where they're at, informs them of, what resources are available to them or should be available to them in their workplace. Number three, have an on-call system where should somebody need information because you're experiencing health issues,
right,
that their service is available. Because, there are a couple of realities. Not every farm is going to have someone who is fluent in both Spanish and English, for example. It's just not. As much as you would like it to be the case, it's probably not going to be the case. If they don't have somebody on staff that's going to be able to communicate all that, there needs to be some way, either through L&I, for example, or if there's something that local farmers groups can all hire together, so instead of having to each hire a bunch of different people in order to make this work, you have one company that services all of these different farms.
Let me ask you something this. So along those same lines there, Jeffrey, I apologize let me ask you this. In the middle of all that, have we taken account for corruption?
Of course.
I hate to say that, but that's exactly what's happening on a lot of these places. You have one fucking asshole who can speak both languages, who can speak both, and it's like, yes, you know what? I'll go tell them that, and then give them a fragment of the truth.
That's what I'm saying. The supervisor is the communication there. And it doesn't matter what the company outwardly says. If the supervisor is telling the boots on the ground they don't deserve water or a break or air conditioning, they don't think they deserve it. And then the company says, I don't know what,
Yeah. Or it's that one asshole who can't speak those both languages who's saying, you know what, if you pay me X amount of dollars, I could do that for you.
Well, and that's where I think, working the way that I do, you constantly have this issue between, government and private employer. You always have that headbutting, and this is where these third party groups really come into play. Because number one, they're not going to they don't represent the state, they don't represent the company. And it's like Jason said, it's essentially advocacy. Here's what your rights are. Here's resources that are available to you, but here are resources that are available to the company to be able to, in terms of liability for companies. And this is where this is where it gets smart. Is that when you have an outside third party that is. Now it's their ass on the line for making sure things are done right and communicated properly. It leaves the companies less likely to be liable for things like a farm worker's death or infractions that the state are later going to come in and just absolutely rail them on. And so that's you have this company that understands what the state's looking for. The state obviously isn't going to be coming out there unless there's a series of major infractions that they're going to have to investigate. But the farm companies now have the ability to have this organization come out and be that kind of intermediary of, hey, let's get this right, so that way you don't have coming after you with the big green weenie, and you don't have your insurance coming after you for killing somebody and then they have to pay out.
I think the good thing about Washington State is, people we'll say bad things about it or whatever, but the one good thing about Washington State is if there is one death, or if there's an injury, there is an investigation done by the state. And I think, the Department of Labor and Industries, I mean, they're one of the biggest ones in the state of Washington that do just that. And they're phenomenal. I mean, you say what you want regardless, but when it comes to those kind of situations where farm workers' lives are at stake, they do take care, they do take interest, and they do their due diligence and investigate and offer options to these employers. Like, this is what you need to fix. Here's what you need to fix it. We're going to fine you, sure, or maybe not even. It just depends on the situation. I can't speak on that entirely, but they offer solutions that this is how you can take care of, this is how you can mitigate that, this is how you can fix, this is how you can avoid, and they give you those options. And I think a lot of people who own businesses, large businesses, specifically farms, should take heed and should take note and say, how can we protect our people?
Because I think they should do that on their own. These farms should get together. Like I told you about guns, like I told you about something else. Regulate yourself before the government regulates you. So get together and say, look, there's 65 deaths. It's not like there's 1 million that you have to analyze. There's 65. Why did they die? Fix those issues and you're done. And just offer that to OSHA, because OSHA was offered in 1972, 1986, and 2016 recommendations on how to protect people from heat stroke, and OSHA turned them down every time. Yeah. Now, we need policy, we need guidance, we need regulation, because bad people don't do what they should, and good people want to know what they should do.
Yeah, and that's where
these good places parties, they want to. Yes.
And I think that's where these third parties could potentially have a huge number one business opportunity to not only just, say, hey, we're going to look at, what the farmers, need and come at it from, that perspective. But number two, do it through the lens of making sure that everything falls within state compliance.
Okay, let me ask you this then. How is that going to be funded? Who would fund it? Would it be government or would it be the employer? Because trying to get money out of employers is going to be like,
yeah, we have a real issue with employers founding arbitrators,
Yeah, big time. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I think it's a phenomenal idea, and I think it should be implemented because these advocates would definitely speak for those employers, those field workers, those migrant workers who can't speak the language, who don't understand the policies, who don't understand what's available to them.
Right.
These advocacy centers, like you're talking about, these advocates are 100% legit, and I'm 100% behind it. I think it's fantastic. What we have to think about objectively now is, how is that going to be funded? Will it be funded by these employers? Will the government provide funding or some kind of what are they called, grants, or where they give them money? I don't even know the fucking word.
Yeah. It could be an independent panel under OSHA. You know what I mean?
So
it's just who's on the panel, who elects those people on the panel, who determines.
But you say OSHA, and then most people are like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that.
So here's where I actually have a little
agency we have though.
Here's where I actually have a little experience in doing some of this fact finding type stuff. I have a report with the Department of Health that's actually saved and available here for Washington State, where I did an assessment on rural hospitals and what their needs are. It's a 50-page paper that I did the data analysis for. I collected I created the study, I created the data analysis methods, and then published the report. So that is something that is on file with the Department of Health.
Can you send that to me? I would love to read that, by the way. Just
I'd love to read
any kind of published paper from you. I'd like to read, because I'm gonna fucking learn something. Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
So the answer is that you can always have the state commission a study and have resources available from private industry in order to offer input. The answer to this, the answer is that why not both? Where does the funding come from? Because what this is going to amount to is that this is farm corporations putting an investment in, and hey, how do we keep the government from coming after us?
Right.
because a little bit of investment is usually a hell of a lot cheaper than large fines being imposed
or government oversight being created, because then you're locked into doing something you didn't want to do right yet, you know.
and for the state, here's the side of that coin is that the state often goes in, they have to do this work anyways. So normally they're having to pay state wages for all of this and on state time, which means it inevitably runs long, gathers way too much non-useful information.
Right.
And then you end up spending a whole lot of time investigating something, and by the time you get any sort of data out of it, it's changed. The systems have changed. So what you end up with is a very short, focused, what are the needs assessment that you have both parties' inputs on. What are you looking for? Where are we going with this? And
what's the trajectory?
At T-Mobile for Business, unconventional thinking means we see things differently, so you can focus on what matters most. That's why we've become the leader in 5G, #1 in customer satisfaction, and a partner who includes 5G in every plan, so you get it all. Unconventional thinking is better for business. Open Signal awards T-Mobile as America's fastest 5G network USA. 5G user experience report July 2021. Capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com. For JD Power 2020 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.
Exactly. Right. And so what ends up happening is, the farm, when this report is done, what happens is the private industries now understand these are the things that we need to invest in. So like with the Department of Health report that I did, it turned out that, what hospitals were saying was, this is where we need investment. This is where we need red tape cut. And it was for behavioral health, either in person or tele. For the state, now they understand, hey, if I am going to be issuing grants and funds, this is where I'm going to put the money, because there's now been a called out need. And so in the long run, you end up with a much cheaper assessment that allows for a greater focus on what the actual impacts are what impacts are needed. And you can very strategically and surgically focus that money. So you get the private employers get the benefit of not having this wild government oversight just come in hard and fast after they do this finding. And the state gets the benefit of, hey, we don't have to hire a bunch of people to do all of this oversight and insight, and we can just take this money and say, look, this is what needs to change. Here's the funding in order to make it happen.
Yeah, that's a win-win situation all the way around.
And so with something like that, everybody gets the best of both worlds. The private employers, as long as there's
input, from everybody, including a farm worker representative. I just thought about during that, a pamphlet could be made about what you're creating and send that out.
And that's exactly what I can tell you from the process.
Visas, they could take a pamphlet when they get the visa. You know what I mean?
And I can tell you from the process, when I did that, I had to interview several hospitals, and I actually had to sit down and talk to them about, where they were seeing their pain points, what they were needing. I had to sit down and talk with the Department of Health and say, what is it that your end goal is? What are you trying to accomplish here? Are you looking for ways to direct funding? Are you looking to create oversight? What is it that you're actually wanting? And so what ended up happening was I created a blueprint for this is what needs to be addressed. And by the way, when Donald Trump cut all of this red tape, part of it was for telehealth. And so now the Department of Health, with that report in hand, was able to say, look, we knew this was what we needed. We had the information. We knew that this was where we needed to direct our funding. Guess what we're doing? And that's what they did.
Thank you for telehealth, by the way. It really makes a difference in my life.
I'm still on the waiting list for any kind of telehealth. I'm not saying I need it, but you just kind of need to sharpen those tools.
Well, once you go to your doctor, you can request a telehealth appointment, like, you know what I mean? And they'll just message you and be like, are you okay? And you can be like, yep. Medicine okay? Yep.
Yeah.
You only have to go in like once a year. You have to get your, blood drawn.
Antibodies checked. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think that this oversight committee would be a fantastic idea for the farms and for agriculture in general. Yeah. I think specifically for the workers, they definitely would benefit from this. I mean, something to show that these people who come, like I said, travel miles and miles and miles to come up here to work, to send money back home.
They mean something.
They mean something. They mean 100%. They mean something.
Yeah.
And I think these committees are a fantastic idea. And I think, this may be just a conversation starter. This just may be a conversation between three random guys. Well, not really random guys. We're homies. but I mean, through conversation between three brothers that we know, that we see, and this is this is an active, something needs to be very actively at the forefront of our agriculture departments. They need to see this. They need to hear this. They need to know that, man, not everybody's against you. Just if you want to do something, do it right the first time and be truthful and honest and transparent about it. If you're going to treat your people like shit, guess what? We can spread the word just like that you don't need people. You know what I mean? And watch your business fail, and watch your crops fail, and watch you fail, and watch you have to sell your precious boats, your precious diamond encrusted dildos, whatever it is that you have at your treehouse.
I do want to say thank you to @Farmworkers on Twitter and @NIJC, the National Immigrant Justice Center, because that's where I saw these stories, and it was everything. It's climate change causing deaths, and immigrants aren't the demons that we think they are. They're the ones picking our food. That's what they're coming to do. They're cutting up the chicken that we eat. They're sweeping up the messes in hospitals. They're just taking any job to build a better life for themselves. They're not trying to ruin your life, and we need to understand that. You know what I mean? It's important to me that people don't pick on migrants. Like, somebody told me alien is an offensive word, and I was like, well, I think the word immigrant is offensive to me. Like, everybody migrates, birds migrate, people migrate, they're migrants. You know what I mean? They're moving around the earth, by the way, like they've done for the past 5,000 years. Like, people were walking from Peru to Canada 5,000 years ago, and it wasn't until a couple hundred years ago white people stepped in and said, stop.
Yeah.
And like I said, with something like this, is there going to be some additional costs to farmers, to farm companies? Absolutely. But the question is how much of that cost are you willing to hedge? Is it going to be, hey, I'm gonna, help, in terms of funding a report, so that way, the state gets some input, I get some input, and we get a great middle of the road recommendation that ultimately is going to cost you a hell of a lot less than the state stepping in and handling it. Because I guarantee you, if the state steps in to handle it, it's going to cost a lot of money. It always does.
I think if the farms spent less money on lobbying to keep regulations out and more money in investigating what those regulations should be. Like, OSHA didn't not enact that stuff in 1972 and 2016 because they just didn't think heat exhaustion needed to be mentioned in OSHA protections. They did it because somebody paid them to say, leave it out, and that's my problem. A farm gets penalized $4,000 when a migrant worker dies. You could invest that in more water and not kill the guy. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous to me. And a panel would know that. Like, somebody that investigated this shit ahead of time would know that. And the farms are on the front line of recognizing what the issues are. So just help fix them. It's cheaper to fix them than to pay for repairing the damage you're doing to somebody's life.
I think the system too is also broken. It needs to be fixed. Repeatedly you hear things like, well, this is how we've always done it. When you hear that, that the system's broke and it should be changed. You know what I mean? Not just because somebody died. I mean, oh, well, you know what? Fuck that guy. He was lazy anyway. Or you shouldn't have been here in the United States. That's all you hear. It's all the shit you hear. Now, coming from a family of migrant workers, let me tell you this: that is the worst shit you can hear. especially some of us who are now more educated and trying to educate everybody else in the family, and then trying to educate the next lineage and the next generation after that. You know what I mean? It's the system has to be fixed. Just because it's been done like this hundreds of years, or that's how we've always done it.
Yeah, you got to remember, a lot of these farms are the same land that slave owners used. They just got rid of the slaves and paid a little more for other people they don't mind killing. You know?
Yep. I'm almost kidding you. With those numbers that you were put out there, Jason, the 65 deaths, are they nationwide?
Yeah,
nationwide. Okay.
But still, I mean, it doesn't matter. Somewhere right now, a farm worker is dying, like every 3 to 4 months. And that's given a yearly season. Like, I don't even know what the harvest season is, but if it's 4 or 5 months, like that's what I didn't have. But if
you're looking at from March, anywhere from March to April. For Washington, specifically the eastern side of the mountains, you're looking at from April. So when everything starts budding, they have to take care of those crops. They have to take care of those trees. They have to take care of all that stuff. To harvest time, which is what Jeffrey? October or late
October, November. Just depends on the crop.
Yeah, that's what my death rate is based on a full year season, not the 6-month season you just said. So if 3 or 4 farm workers are dying a year and the year is only 6 months, that sucks. Like, I understand that the guy that died in 2002 might be different reasons than people that are dying now, but now is the situation.
So here's what I've got. So CDC actually has some very interesting facts on this. In 2019, 410 farmers and farm workers died from work-related injuries.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so that's everything from tractor overturns. That's 1 year. That's just in 2019. So just to kind of give you an idea, that's one of those things where, 410 farmers and farm workers, like when you're talking about our nation's ability to put food on the table, and literally less than 1% of our country employment is farmers and farm workers, that's a lot in that industry. A lot. And so, like some of that, like I was, reading was equipment stuff, things like PTOs killing people and tractor rollovers and things like that. So 65 people, dying from heat related stuff. That's a pretty significant chunk of that.
But there's still a lot more people dying of other things. And by the way, some of them are white. Fix it for the white people.
I mean, fix it for the people in general, but
if you don't care about immigrants, care about white people.
God damn it, Jason.
I'm going to give this one a 5 oofs out of 7.
I just recently heard, and it dawned on me, somebody said, white wasn't even a thing till the 1600s. White was a group of nationalities like Swedish or German until all of a sudden we started creating the slave network, and then white was a thing. And it makes me laugh. White isn't it's not a race. It's just a conglomeration of nationalities put together with a loose construct of religion. You know what I mean?
Then that's what black is. When you look at all the different nationalities there, or Middle Eastern, or Asian, or whatever. It's
shorthand for a more complex answer, right?
The reality is that like a lot of these things that can and should change, it's you look at who's working farms. It's not like there's a ton of farm workers out in eastern Montana. Most of them are white. So the reality is that when it comes to changing things, it should be done out of the abundance of caution. That's how I was raised. Is that if we're going to make something, if we're going to make a change, we're making changes out of an abundance of caution. Here in Olympia, we saw that 110 plus heat wave just absolutely slam us. I've worked out in that kind of heat. That shit's deadly. That shit's deadly. And
go ahead.
And the reality is that when it comes to making simple changes, like having more water available, or having some creating systems that make it easier for people to have access to water while they're working, or whether it's I mean, air conditioning is kind of one of those ones that's a little hard given out, being out in the open field. But having cool,
right? Yeah, cooling centers.
Having a mobile cooling center. That's that's always something that's a possibility to be able to offer people. I mean, like I will say that having worked out in the field, maybe Adam can corroborate this. You don't really want to be moving between cold air and hot air because it'll shock your system fucking hard.
But some shade would be nice, or a place for emergency.
Shade and fan. That's exactly it. Is having those recommendations available. Like, hey, do we need to figure out what a mobile cooling center looks like? It's not like these farmers don't have a huge fucking truck that they can't just like haul in a small cooling center if it's necessary. Or, maybe something that all the local farmers need to do, get in common is like, hey, let's identify some places. This is where being a data person is absolutely fantastic. because we can map where these heat related deaths have taken place, and by creating that touch point map, we can sit down and say, okay, if we were to place a cooling center, where could we place it that would get someone access really quickly? And you could start to create these concentric circles and say, this is where we need to put a cooling and water station. This is where we need to put a cooling and water station. And then all of these farms together could go in on the cost of that. Or, if the state decides that they're going to do that, then the state puts those in. You don't have this whole system state oversight, but maybe you have a state-run cooling center and hydration center that keeps people safe.
But you also have to break that barrier where people are willing to do that. Like these farmers, like I said, we've always done it like this, so it doesn't matter. They'll be okay. With all these new advances in technology, you'd think that we could build some kind of, they have these giant ass tractors, right? That haul around the sprinklers, or they haul around trailers, or they haul around trucks. Why can't they make something? Why can't the John Deere get a hold of me? I got an idea for you. That they could haul these trailers.
They're on strike right now. They'll get back to you.
Okay, but as soon as they do, I got an idea for them. They can create these new things as some kind of a mobile shade, something that could, these people are going to work, 12 hours today. Guess what? We're going to pull this sucker out and everybody's going to work underneath this, boom, 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 and keep going or something. I don't know, man, but you have to get past the old school mentality where these archaic companies are now coming into the 21st century, being more aware of their workers, being more aware of their finances, being more aware of the state regulations, and the fluidity between them, and having that conversation saying, hey, what can we do better? How can we do better? How can we avoid these goddamn fines?
Or expendable people. People aren't expendable.
Or here's another option too. Something that these farmers can do and that the state can also sponsor. Adam, do you have that one tool that makes absolutely sense to nobody else, but you've created that tool because it works really fucking great for that one job that it does?
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein wrench.
Oh yeah.
Maybe one of the things that needs to happen is that you take the tools that you use on the farm currently, and you put this out there and say, all right, engineers, let's play a little game. Whoever solves the problem, and how do we deliver more cooling capacity or hydration possibility for our workers? Frankenstein this piece of farm equipment. Let's see what we can do. I guarantee you, it's kind of like how the health systems have developed games that help them figure out how to fold proteins to create new medicines. You turn it into a fucking game or a competition, and people solve problems really fucking fast because people are competitive.
Yeah. Incentive.
Exactly.
Wait, the farm workers aren't asking for much. Literally, they're asking for shade, water, and breaks. So
the question is
they're not asking for like air conditioning and filet mignon. You know what I mean? Right. They're literally asking for less than we're willing to give.
And that's the thing is that, there are ways, we've modified equipment time and time again to do a specific job that 100%. We need. So the question is how do you better modify this equipment? And I guarantee you, if John Deere is the one that's producing this equipment, they see someone Frankenstein a machine, they're going to come back and they're going to be like, guess what? Here's machine 2.0. We've incorporated what somebody's Frankenstein, but we've made it more functional. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, the goal of any company should be to address problems before it becomes regulation, because
100%.
when it becomes regulation, it becomes expensive, and it becomes expensive in a couple of ways. Number one, you're going to be paying more tax for this to work. Number two, you're going to be fined a lot more when you break those regulations. Like your goal should be to cut this shit off at the pass, because it's going to be cheaper if you address it than if the state decides to come in and address it.
100%. Because you're going to pay if you fix it, or pay if you don't. You're going to get fined, or you're going to have to pay for the upkeep.
Yep.
But so fix it first, before regulate yourself before the government comes in, because the government can be 100%. A bitch. What I want to know is can white people get these jobs? And I honestly don't know. I mean, I couldn't find an answer to it online.
Could white people get these jobs?
I'm gonna go shit on my own chest.
The big question.
Hold on, I'm bending over backwards and suck my own dick.
What does every white person say? They're coming and taking our jobs. Well, if they're coming to be farm workers, and the jobs are farm workers, and there's openings, are white people there? Like, are they protesting these farm workers, going, "You took my job, motherfucker, cabbage picker"? You know what I mean?
You're absolutely right, Jason. Can our American brothers get these jobs? Yes, they can. Do they want to do the job? No, they fucking don't.
$14 an hour.
Yeah, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do it because it's beneath them. They believe, now, not all. Let me rephrase that.
Working in the field that's amazing,
Right. So there's this thing called, what is it? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeffrey. It's, what is that thing called where you believe that everything should come to you? Entitlement.
Oh, I thought it was privilege.
Yes.
Also that.
So close.
That's also in there too.
That's also in there too. But you got to understand, these people are willing to work to make money any which way they can. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of Americans, don't get me wrong, a lot of Americans will not do that. Right. I happen to know a small handful who are willing to do that, to make any which way they can, bring home that money to provide for their family, themselves, their mom, their dad, their roommates, wherever they're fucking living. So yes, and the white America can do these jobs.
They just don't want to.
They should be able to. They should want to.
And there is plenty of them out there. That's my issue.
That's it.
Plenty of farm working jobs out there. You just have to go and do it.
Yeah, because what's going to happen?
Or shut up about them taking the jobs you don't want to take anyway, right?
100%. Because let me tell you, the Latin American community is willing to do it if you're not, and they were willing to do it 10 times better with the least amount of people, with the least amount of PPE, because those people don't get that kind of opportunity. Well, now, the American population.
Latinos were here before us. Like, they're the past tenant. They're happy to get their place back and fix it up. You know what I mean?
We just want California and Texas back. That's all. Anyways, gonna be curious.
Who the hell wants Texas? Ugh.
Take Texas. Take it.
I'll take Texas.
I'll even throw in Arizona and New Mexico.
You keep New Mexico. We'll take Arizona.
Take Florida. Take Florida. Can you take Florida, please?
Are you still in Florida? If you're still in Florida, we'll take it.
Can we have a timeshare in Arizona? I do like the food.
Damn it. Okay, so, but in all seriousness, yes, the Americans, white America can do these jobs. I strongly encourage white America to get out there, because this is what's going to happen. Now, listen, tell me if I'm an asshole, or tell me if I'm absolutely in the fucking wrong. A white American, male, female, does not matter, American, goes out into the field and does this job. Okay, this is where shit starts to get weird for everybody involved. This person, oh man, this is amazing. This is cool. All right, what can I do to make this better? You know what? I want my own farm. What? My own farm, hire my own people, get my own stuff, make my own money. What is that called, Jeffrey? What is that called when somebody gets that idea and then makes it happen and then starts to get bigger? What is that called?
Entrepreneurship.
Fucking that word. You know what I'm saying?
I'm thinking more micro level. This person is going to be able to speak for all of the farm workers that are there. So these white people will actually say, no, I get a break. And then everybody gets a break, because that one white person, privileged, took what was meant for them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I do believe that white America can do these jobs. And I do believe
empathy it would create, to work a day in the field.
A day in the field, a year in the field, 5 years in the field, and then moving up from that guy who's picking the carrots or the cabbages or whatever it is that they want to laugh about now. And they see that big picture and they're like, all of a sudden they're going into it and they're like,
I can grow carrots.
I can grow this. I can do that. I can have my own crew. I can have my own farm. What? I can have hundreds of acres. What? I can do this. I can make this better. I can
create a farm in an acre in Seattle. Just a burnt out house. I can just take abandoned land and just turn it into a farm for the community.
Yeah. See, now on the flip side of that, a migrant worker comes in. Yes, I want my own farm. Oh man, a bank says no. The farm owners, the landowners, no. The people who's selling property, no. You can't do that. You can't. You don't have. Get out of here. You know what I mean? So
they're sending their money back to Mexico to create their own farm there. I have a friend. He does organic grass-fed beef just on the overside of the border, and he makes a fortune off every cow. You know?
Yep, 100%. So we're getting those skills here, but wouldn't it be nice if we could get the skills here and stay here? I mean, is that not what America's all about? Growing and freedom of all the other bullshit that we have to deal with down in pick a country, throw a rock at a fucking country. America is one of the greatest countries in the world. The government sucks balls. The country and the people in it is what makes it fucking amazing. There's of course you got those borderline motherfuckers who you got to fucking remember. What's his name? Ahmaud Arbery. You got to remember Breonna Taylor. You got to remember George Floyd. You got to remember all these motherfuckers. You'd say their goddamn names, and you got to say these indigenous people who didn't get that opportunity. But for white America to sit back and complain, it's not a good look, buddy. Guess what?
Nope.
Time to knuckle up. Let's do this shit. Let's do this shit together. Let's do it right. Let's fucking make
roll
it
up
better
your sleeves.
What happened to get down and dirty? This is America. This is not a land of entitlement. This is America. This is the land of I want that. I'm going to make that shit happen. Let's get out there and do it. Let's make it better for all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Together.
We have to. Together, we have to. Otherwise, we're going to go into the whole realm of what's that movie called? Luke Wilson, Dax Shepard, and Myra. Fucking Idiocracy. We're going to go that route. I mean, we don't want to go that route. This is one of the greatest fucking countries that I've lived in. I mean, I've seen the countries. I've got friends who live in other countries, and they're like, you have the potential. What the fuck's going on with the government? Yeah, we don't know. You know, we don't fucking know.
We know.
We do know. I don't know. Let's go, Brandon.
We just don't hold them accountable.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, let's. Yeah.
Okay. We don't hold them accountable, and we don't. And we have to hold ourselves accountable. If we can regulate ourselves, like you were saying, Jason, we can regulate ourselves. Our industries regulate themselves before the state has to step in. We would be a fucking phenomenal state.
And that's why our government sucks, is because we keep giving them the power to control. We keep saying, fix this for us. And they're like, you want us to fix it? And we're like, yes. And they're like, doom. And we're like, damn, oppression. We asked them to do it.
Yes, we did. Yeah. We asked for that urine shower. Let's like, go ahead, just give it to us.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a very tricky slope. And back to it again. Yes, white America can do these jobs. And it just will inspire this white America who has got the opportunity to say, yes, oh man, I want my own. And that's how we growth. The growth that we have.
How many thousand people died in the creation of Hoover Dam? You know, when they're pouring cement and like a Scottish guy falls in, they just keep going. They don't like stop and dig him out. There's thousands of bodies in the Hoover Dam because Americans said we're going to do what it takes to earn this dime today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of. Yeah, we got to do something, man. I mean, I'm a very firm believer in hope, and I'm a very firm believer in faith, and I believe in this country, and I believe in I just don't believe in our government, man. They're leading us astray, and we don't stand up and fact check. I mean, I know that we go, correct me if I'm wrong, both you guys, we go to, if we see some injustice happening to the other countries, we go and interfere. We put our balls right up on that fucking skillet and say, hey, guess what? Nope.
Well, we use a gun. We don't use words. We need more diplomats and less army recruits. You know what I mean?
We also interfere. 100%. We also interfere when we fucking feel like it.
That's true.
Why is nobody stepping up into the world and saying, hey, we have to go help America? Because as Americans are going under some bullshit. When are we getting some kind of help? Whether it be
in
from
2020, nobody realizes this, but international arbiters came in to monitor our election like they would a third world country. The UN sent people in to monitor our elections.
I like that. I fucking like that. We interfere everywhere else. Why cannot we have a little bit of help from, you know?
And that's what's amazing is like the international community came in, watched our vote, and said, "Yeah, it's good." It's like the world, everyone in the world. What Donald Trump reminds me of is a guy that cheated on his wife and got caught, and just constantly goes, "No, I didn't do it.
Let's go, Brandon.
Wasn't me." You know, like denial, denial, denial. It's the first rule of any playboy, right? Denial, denial. And I think that's all he does. And like, here's what I'll end on, and we can all wrap up with a comment. Democrats feel like they need 100% of the consensus to make a decision. Republicans understand they only need 50%. So they're not trying to talk to everyone. They're just trying to get that 51%, and they have it.
I would also say, you know, what Democrats are really great at is Democrats are great at pitching ideas, but when it comes to actually having the rubber meet the road, Democrats are the single greatest obstacle to Democrats doing things. Democrats are the number one reason Republicans get elected. And when you look at what has happened in the last 9 months, you know, they sat there on that infrastructure bill for what 2 months that's been passed. And after they lose an election in fucking Virginia and have a close shave in New Jersey, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, hey, we should pass that thing."
Yeah.
You think
but not
this
because
way.
It's good for the people, but to give Joe Biden a bump.
But here's the thing, you know, you had 6 Democrats not vote for the package at all.
Thank you.
And had 13 Republicans not cross over and vote for that infrastructure package, it would have sank.
Yep.
Damn.
But as it is now, Build Back Better is going to sink because progressives caved. That's the thing. 6 progressives said we're gonna honor our agreement. The Progressive Caucus said no, we're gonna fold. Go ahead. We wasted time, and now all that time is wasted because they gave in. Why didn't they give in months ago? That's my issue. They gave in now after the election.
And the reality is that, you know, the infrastructure bill was at least agreed upon in a bipartisan level. Build Back Better has been nothing but partisan. Period. Of the story.
Right.
And the reality is that most likely, if Build Back Better sinks, it's going to be because Democrats were fighting with Democrats. When you look at the tax cuts that Trump did in 2017, it wasn't Republicans fighting with Republicans.
Right.
And the answer is that Democrats are the sole reason why Democrats
fighting with them.
No. And that's the sole reason why Democrats lose elections is that Democrats fight with Democrats and decide to say, fuck you, I'm going to fuck the Democrats, and they fuck themselves. Whereas Republicans are like, fuck, I guess we got to work with this guy. All right, here's tax cuts. Then it gets done.
No. And Republicans are working with Democrats on other things. Like things are getting passed without just, you know, partisanship. Like Democrats and Republicans are working on smaller issues together. It's just these big issues are what we hear about, you know.
Right. And so, you know, for the Progressive Caucus that decided that they were just not going to vote for the infrastructure package
until they did.
Well, they and the six that didn't vote, like I guarantee you, had the infrastructure package failed, it would have guaranteed that Build Back Better would have failed.
Well, they could have waited till October or November 15th and passed them both together. It just makes Democrats look weak to say we're standing with this and then not. And have Biden, they're doing it because Biden asked them to, and then Biden said stop, and they stopped. It just looks ridiculous.
They looked weak simply because they had the infrastructure bill passed 2 months ago, and they could have had it done.
Oh, the bipartisan
and so,
one, right.
Yep. And they could have had that done and passed and said, look at what we got done.
Right.
And been in a position of strength that said, you know, that showed, hey, we got this done. Now let's get this fucking hammered out and get this done.
And Democrats still would have lost in Virginia, by the way.
But now they look like they're in a serious position of weakness because it looks like they only passed the infrastructure bill because they lost in Virginia and they damn near lost in New Jersey. So now they look like they're in a position of weakness. And I guarantee you in 2022, there's going to be some big Republican wins. And if Democrats keep on the path that they're on, 2024 is going to be Republicans back in power, period, end of story.
It's going to be.
Because Democrats are, and that's the problem with these two parties right now. I constantly say they're a party of bad ideas and a party of no ideas. And, right now the Republicans are the party of no ideas, simply because they're not doing fuck all.
But the Democrats... The Republicans have this stand of protecting its constituents from woke culture, which is a real thing. And Democrats are like, it's critical race theory and nobody teaches that. Bitch, they're saying, stop coming to the net with it. You know what I mean? Come a little softer with your rhetoric. Like, don't nail me to the cross because slavery once existed. Talk to me about equality in a nicer way, in a nicer way. Let's have a constructive conversation. Don't yell at me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's resonating with Republicans and independents.
Yep. And so that's where right now the Democrats are continuing to shoot themselves in the foot. So
it's fun to watch, though, isn't it?
I had to laugh. Closing thoughts from me is that the funniest thing that I saw recently was an article from a pretty left-leaning major newspaper asking if "Let's Go Brandon" was hate speech. And I said, if "Let's Go Brandon," which is a euphemism for "fuck Joe Biden," is hate speech, I got some real bad news for them in 4 years of "fuck Donald Trump."
Oh, 100%. That's some bullshit, dude. It's like, you serious right now, Clark?
I mean, if you wanted to hammer him on anything, it's like, look, you guys are so fucking sheepish. You can't even say "fuck Joe Biden" like we said "fuck Donald Trump." Meanwhile, I say "fuck them both."
Fuck them both. Fuck them all.
Fuck them all.
What you got for closing thoughts, Adam?
Dude, my closing thoughts are, man, this Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery.
Learn about it.
Fuck Democrats. Fuck the Republicans. Where are the fucking people? Where are the people who are standing up for these people like Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna fucking Taylor, Trayvon Martin? Don't forget about goddamn Trayvon Martin. Fucking don't forget that Martin Luther King was assassinated for standing up for what he believed in way back in the fucking 60s.
Ma'Khia Bryant, who was shot for having a knife in her hand in Ohio. Yeah.
Dude, this senseless killing. Dude, why? Those are my closing thoughts, Why? Just why?
Well, once you see black, you just gotta shoot the fuck out of it.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, it was supposed to be once you go black, you don't go back, but it changed at the last minute for the white people.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate to be who I am, where I am, with who I am, because of I have white-skinned friends who are kind. They're few and far in between, and a small handful
white I am. Look at how white that is. That's super white.
Okay. Boom, motherfucker.
God damn. Boom. I'm let me put on my Dolce Gabbana glasses. But
I have you. You're my buddy.
Dude, I love you guys, man. I always say this, and I get ridiculed all the fucking time, and people just make fun of me, and people say all sorts of shit. But I'm gonna tell you this: everybody love everybody is not something that just Jackie Moon said. It's something that resonates with me because I believe that everybody should love everybody regardless of skin. Fuck your religion and your Democrats, but your Republicans, but everybody should love everybody because we're all fucking humans on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any other aliens that's going to take me because, they don't want me. They don't want no fucking loudmouth motherfucking Mexican who can make some bomb ass brisket.
Demi Lovato says that word is offensive and you should use the term extraterrestrial.
Ooh, I love Demi Lovato.
She learned that when they took her onto their home planet, which, by the way, made her the extraterrestrial.
I was the one who took her. Nice. Them. Excuse me. I took them.
Okay.
I love Demi Lovato.
That's all I know about Demi Lovato. She's batshit crazy about aliens.
Oh.
Or extraterrestrials.
I was going to say, I love Demi Lovato.
Okay.
But everybody love everybody. God fucking damn it. You know what I mean? This is too small of a fucking world. My world keeps getting closer. People know people who know this person who is really good friends with me, and the world keeps getting smaller, and the fucking mentality just keeps getting narrow-minded when it should be broadened. You know. I mean, we can't function without each other, man. I mean, we just can't.
Maybe people stop yelling at us once we start talking to them. You know what I mean?
Try. All you gotta do is try.
Right. Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.
Love you guys.
To those who would tear the world down, we will defeat you. This is our moment. This is our time. To those who seek peace and security, we support you. Yes, we can. And to all those who have wondered if America's beacon still burns as bright, tonight we prove once more that the true strength of our nation comes not from the might of our arms or the scale of our wealth, but from the enduring power of our ideals, democracy, liberty, opportunity, and unyielding hope.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbow. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life.
Ask not.
Yes, we can.
What your country can do for you.
I have a dream.
Ask what you can do for your country.
My poor little children. Yes, we can. One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression.
In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
That's how winning is done.
Welcome to Public Access America.
Yes, we can.
Sunday live streams on YouTube.
I wanted to run out of that tunnel for my dad.
On Twitter.
What?
Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Smart Radio Public, and Spotify.
Yes, we can.
Public Access America. History in the making. Making history in the making.
If you love hosting over the holidays, swap out your old HVAC filter with a Filtrete air filter. It can help clear away particles from all your holiday cooking. Look for Filtrete air filters at a retailer near you. Let's clear the air.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.